Welcome, everybody, to FanStream Sports, powered by DSP Media. This is the Fighting Irish Day Blitz, and I'm your host, Rob Fedoff, also known as RPT. You can find me on X at PFedoff. This is episode 134, but first things first, head over to our website at fanstreamsports.com for all additional podcast information. If you have an Apple device or an Android device, please feel free to download the FanStream Sports app. Then head over to our Facebook page. Like that page, additional content out there as well. Please feel free to share that with your friends and family. So this will be a little bit different, not talking football, basketball, baseball, or hockey. We're going to be talking lacrosse. It's a sport that doesn't get too much attention, despite the fact that the men's lacrosse team won the national title last year. Currently ranked number one. Pretty much the entire year they've been ranked number one, except for about a 1 or 2 week stretch when they were upset by Georgetown. But let's get into, I want to just talk about this too, because both have had tremendous historical seasons for both Notre Dame men's and women's lacrosse. So let's get into the men's side first. Yesterday, the men's team won the ACC tournament. They destroyed Duke 16-6. That's the third ACC tournament championship they've won throughout their history. And they also won the ACC regular season ACC regular season. That's the first time that's ever happened in the men's program to win both the regular season and the tournament championship. They're currently 12-1. 4-0 in the ACC. This team has been dominant pretty much throughout the entire year. Had that slip up, as I said, against Georgetown. But if you want to kind of compare it to other sports that we're more familiar with, think of 1996 Kentucky basketball. I think they lost one game. They dominated that tournament, won the national title. 2019 LSU football program with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. I think Justin Jefferson was on that team too. Total domination. Currently, right now, UConn men's basketball, they won the 2023 national title. They won the 2024 national title. No, they did not go undefeated, but when they really had to win a game or dominate throughout the regular season, they did, and they definitely dominated during the men's basketball tournament over the past month in March, I should say. And think of it on that terms. That's how dominant this men's lacrosse team is right now. They now headed into the tournament. It's not like basketball where it's a 68-team field. It's only a 17-team field, but it's really 16. There's a play-in game, and whoever wins that play-in game will play Notre Dame, who's the top overall number one seed. And that game will be Sacred Heart against Albany. That game is this Wednesday. So whoever wins that game will play Notre Dame, and then it reduces the field to 16. What else can I say about this team? They're the number one overall seed, as I said earlier. It's looking like, though, they're going to probably have a rematch with Georgetown, the only team to beat them, which was on February the 25th. Georgetown was ranked 19th at the time. Notre Dame was number one. However, Georgetown won that game 11-10 in overtime. I think maybe Notre Dame, maybe they had some big heads being the defending national champions, currently ranked number one at that time. And Georgetown did play a good game, and they have a solid program. But I think we see a rematch for that game. Notre Dame will win that game. Let's see. Georgetown plays. Let's see. As I look at my notes, they play Penn State. I got to think they beat Penn State and then play Notre Dame in the second round because Notre Dame will beat Sacred Heart or Albany, whoever they play. Notre Dame's first game will be this Sunday, based on that play-in game results. This Sunday, May the 12th, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on ESPNU. That game will be at home. I think the stadium's called Arlada Stadium. It's Arlada. I think it's Arlada Stadium. We'll go with that. But just a tremendous team this is, defending national champions, and I think they're going to repeat. I think they're that solid, and it's just a great testament to this program, because I think in the late 80s, they were actually a club sport before they became an actual sport at Notre Dame. But going back to last year's national title, they keep rolling, except for that one loss to Georgetown. Now the women's lacrosse team, they're a number 7 seed in the tournament. They will begin play this Friday, May the 10th. It's on ESPN Plus, so unless you have that streaming service, you're not going to be able to watch it. They play Coastal Carolina. That game will also be at home at what I'm going to be calling Arlada Stadium. I think that's how you pronounce it. They are currently 15-3, and they were 7-2 in ACC play. That's the highest they ever did. In ACC standings, that is, finished 7-2. That's the best they ever. How can I say this? The best they ever did in the ACC standing wise in their history. Notre Dame women's lacrosse, that is. So 15-3, 7-2 in conference. They were 6-2 at home. This impresses me even more. They were 8-0 away, and their losses are to perennial powers: Syracuse, Virginia, and then they lost to Boston College in the ACC tournament in the semifinals. Here's the big thing this year, and it should have got more publicity than it did. They beat Northwestern. It was at home. They beat them 14-10. Northwestern is the current number one team in the nation, the number one overall seed in the women's lacrosse tournament, and they beat them 14-10. I don't think the women's team will win the national title this year, but this has been a huge stepping stone for the program to beat a powerhouse like Northwestern, who's the number one seed overall, the number one team in the nation right now, and they beat them 14-10. And their losses are really good losses. Syracuse, Virginia, Boston College. Like I said, I'm not a big lacrosse follower, but those are perennial powers in the women's game. So there's my two talking points for this portion of the podcast for the men's and women's lacrosse teams. As I said, this isn't a podcast, analyzing, football, basketball. However, since those sports are in the off season right now, I really did get a chance to talk about this during the women's tournament. It was known, everybody knows who Caitlin Clark is, phenomenal women's basketball player. She got drafted in the WNBA by the Indiana Fever. I think they're in the preseason right now as they gear up for their season. That's mostly in the summer. Her first preseason game was against Dallas, and it was sold out. A road preseason game sold out for a WNBA game. That's unprecedented right there. And I think there's just going to become more and more popular during this season. However, what I'm going to trying to get to the point here is, but there was a section on it's called ESPNW. It's like their women site or whatever, because I know they don't have their magazine anymore. But there was Caitlin Clark made it known that when she was being recruited, this would have been in 2019, going into the 2020 season, she made a silent verbal commitment to former coach Muffet McGraw, the former women's basketball coach at Notre Dame, that she was going to go to Notre Dame. And to me, I always thought that would have been a no-brainer. She went to Catholic school all 12 years. She's Catholic. Her parents really wanted her to go to Notre Dame, and she made that silent commitment to Muffet McGraw, but then she goes back to Notre Dame's campus, and she's just not feeling it. And hey, more power to her. If she did not feel it, she felt I was more of a fit for her. And I started to think, what if she went to Notre Dame? Would she still be the Caitlin Clark phenom women's basketball player that we know right now? I think she still would have been a good player, but I don't think this whole publicity would have happened had she gone to Notre Dame. For one, the Iowa program, yes, it's been a pretty solid program in the last 2 to 3 years, but it's been pretty much Caitlin Clark and complementary players. Gabby Marshall's a really great defender. She can knock down the three, sporadically. I think there's another player called Kate Martin, and I think she did get drafted, I think, by the Las Vegas Aces. But a lot of those girls are not going to be playing in the WNBA. They're probably going to go into their, as Chuck Noll says, their life's work, whether it's coaching, a professional job outside of college. Once they graduate, they are not going to be professional basketball players going forward. With Notre Dame, I think what would have happened so she would have came in on the 2020-2021 class. Muffet McGraw retired after the 2020 season. However, I think if she signed Caitlin Clark, she probably would have coached a couple more years, if not still be coaching now. But I think once COVID hit, the changing landscape in college athletics with the portal, with NIL, I think she said, this isn't the college game that I am used to. It's time to call it quits, and I think a little bit early. Even if she was the coach or if it was Coach Ivy, I think what would have happened is if you look at that 2020-2021 season, it was still a rebuild mode for Notre Dame, because the 2019 class they were the national runner-up to Baylor. All 5 of those starters went to the WNBA, and I think all 5 of those starters are still in the WNBA right now. The only big recruit at the time coming in for Notre Dame, and she wasn't like a 5-star recruit, but it was Maddie Westbeld, who's been a solid player for Notre Dame. But other than that, Sam Brunel, I think she was a sophomore that year. She was a 5-star that came in 2019-2020 season. She's a total bust. She ended up transferring to Virginia. I think she averaged about 2 points per game this year, but total bust. Having said that, it was pretty much a rebuild year. But I think going into that, had Caitlin Clark signed with Notre Dame for that 2020-2021 class, you have Maddie Westbeld in there, who had a decent freshman season. I think they would have given her a little bit free reign that first season because it's still a total rebuild mode. And however, in the upcoming seasons, as you get Sonia Citron, Olivia Miles, Dara Mabry transfers in from Vanderbilt, I believe, you don't need her to score as much. Whereas with Lisa Bluter at Iowa, it's pretty much Caitlin Clark and everybody else. She gave her free reign that no other coach, I think, would have allowed her to do otherwise. I talked about this with Greg Schaefer from Issa Ben Productions. And at first I thought, yeah, she probably still would have had a decent career, but I don't think, and even Greg said, well, look at it too. Iowa had her and everybody else, and they gave her free reign. I think Notre Dame would have done that maybe her first season, but after that, she gets more and more help. And then she becomes more of I think still a 20-point per game player, but not the Caitlin Clark that we see right now, where it's 30 points a game, shooting threes from half court. I don't think either Muffet McGraw or Niall Ivey would have let her do that. Because here's the thing, too. Here what backs up my point right now. Maddie Westbeld, her freshman season, which would have been Caitlin Clark's season at Notre Dame, she averaged 15.2 points per game. Within the next year, you get Sonia Citron, Olivia Miles, Dara Mabry. Her average goes down to 11.8. The next season, it goes down to 11.2, her junior season. And then this year, she bumps it up as, Notre Dame was down to 6 players. And plus, she's a senior. She has more responsibilities as a player, wants to be more of a leader. She stepped it up this year tremendously. She's back up to 14.4. So here's the thing. Freshman season, I'll repeat this right now. 15.2 points. It goes down to 11.8 as Notre Dame gets more recruits and starts to rebuild the program. Then she goes down to 11.2 points per game. But then this year, beefs it back up to 14.4. I think, Caitlin Clark, her freshman season at Notre Dame, had that happen, maybe she's at 25 points per game as a freshman, or about 23, but maybe it starts to go down as she does not have that free reign that she had at Iowa, where it goes to 22, 21, 20, maybe even below 20 points per game, as her assists maybe go up too, to get other players involved, because her supporting cast at Notre Dame would have been way better than what she had at Iowa. But she doesn't become the Caitlin Clark that we know, that phenom, where she's getting commercials left and right. People that never watch women's basketball start watching just because of her. Yes, I think she's a solid player at Notre Dame, but not what she was at Iowa, just because the talent level at Notre Dame was so much better than what there is at Iowa. And it's no disrespect to Iowa, but those girls, like I said, they're going to be doing their life's work, and it's not going to be in the WNBA. Most of them, maybe Kate Martin, but the others, maybe that's, I think her name's Hannah Stalkey. Maybe she goes to the WNBA, but a lot of those girls, they made Caitlin Clark look a lot better than what she was. I don't get me wrong, she's a tremendous player, but if she had gone to Notre Dame, I do not think she's the phenom, the pop culture icon right now that she is right now. And we'll see how that unfolds in the WNBA, but I think she's still going to bring a lot of interest to the WNBA, and hopefully that pumps up the how can I say this? The popularity, that's the word I'm looking for, the popularity of the WNBA. Because if you look, the salaries, I think her salary is slightly under $80,000, whereas in the WNBA, it's, I think their first year is what, 8 to 10 million if you're a first round pick. And if that's going to change, they're going to have to bring more and more people into the seats, because they're just not getting the revenue right now for the WNBA. Hopefully that changes and the salaries go up, because she could have probably got more in NIL money if she had come back for her 5th year COVID year, because she could have came back one more year She's probably obviously she get more money in commercials, NIL, or she just got a regular job outside of just a regular corporate America job. She's probably making more than $80,000 a year than what she is making in the WNBA. So to be determined. But thank you so much for joining me for episode 134. And as always, go Irish.